What's up guys, welcome back to another video. You're watching Brozar, and today we're going to be talking about 7 reasons to buy the 17 to 70 millimeter Sigma f2.8 lens in hopefully under 700 seconds. Let's get into the video. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the Sigma 17 to 70. As we mentioned, that intro was actually shot on the OnePlus 8 Pro as I was showing the lens, but now we're actually switching to the Sigma 17 to 70 mil, and we're going to be shooting on that lens with a Canon SL2 for the rest of this video, so you guys can see. And all the A-roll is going to be shot with this lens, and this lens is on f2.8 right now at 17 millimeters, the widest aperture. So that's just so you guys can get a feel for it. So before we get into each of the 7 reasons, just want to mention that this lens is for crop sensor cameras, APS-C size, and if you want a more detailed review about all the features and everything about it, this video is not going to cover that. There's multiple videos on YouTube already about that. These are just 7 highlights. So now we're going to start off with reason number 1, and the reason number 1 is that this lens has all the basic features that a general kit lens would, like a Canon 18 to 55. It has, you know, the zoom, and it has good autofocus as well as good image stabilization. This lens will also be able to fit on Canon, Nikon, or even Sony mounts, so that's the good part. It's versatile for all of them. But yeah, that's reason number 1. It's got all the same basic features, and then we're gonna delve deeper into all the things that it does better. Alright, so moving on to reason number 2 is the image quality and sharpness. So the images and video coming out of this lens is really nice. As you can see, the crisp video that we're getting right now, we're shooting on the lens right now, and I'm gonna put up some image samples, and it's very sharp. I'd say compared to an 18 to 55, you know, kit lens, I'd say you can definitely see the difference, especially, you know, with that lower aperture. We're gonna talk about it later on. But yeah, the image quality and sharpness is really good on this lens. So the next thing we're going to talk about is build quality. And a lot of cheap lenses, you can always notice that they always, you know, just cheap out on the build quality, but this is, you can feel the premium in it. The rubber on the zoom ring as well as the focus ring is so, you know, grippy and perfect to hold on to. The plastic around it is fingerprint resistant, as well as all the metal and everything on the inside. When you take a look at the lens, it looks nicely built. And a lot of other lenses that are cheap, you know, they cheap out on the build quality. And you know, when you compare it to a kit lens, the difference is so apparent. It's really solid and it has a hefty build on it. So that's one of the big pluses on this lens, the build quality. Alright, so just a quick break after some of these reasons to buy the lens. I just wanted to say, if you are getting value out of this video, please consider hitting that like button. It'll really help me out, and if you aren't already, subscribe. But yeah, let's get back into the reasons now. So next up, we're going to talk about the focal range. It's 17 to 70 millimeters, and I know I keep comparing it back to a kit lens because this is the main reason to upgrade from your kit lens if you have, you know, Canon, Nikon camera. It's 17 to 70 millimeters, which is actually wider than a kit lens, as well as, you know, more zoomed in, 1 millimeter wider, and then like more than 20, around 15 millimeters actually, extra zoom. From 18 to 55, you got the 17 to 70, which makes it really versatile, especially for, you know, vlogging. 17 mil, it's not the widest, you know, most vloggers use around 10 to 18 or 10 to 22 kind of lens. But 17 is pretty good. It gets by. It's wider than that 18 to. It's wider than that 18 mil, just by 1 millimeter. But you don't notice it that much. But it comes in handy sometimes. Having that wide is great. And then especially you can zoom in all the way up to 70 millimeters. 70 millimeters is, you know, quite a bit zoomed in from 17. So that's really great about it. It comes in handy if you're in like some shoots or something, or if you're shooting yourself, you need to zoom in, zoom out, taking photos. get that variable looking depth. And one more great thing about is when you're all the way into 70, it actually creates more of a blurrier background. It creates that depth between the subject and the background, especially since it has such a big zoom. So that's one of the pluses on this lens. So we talked about that focal range, it's wider. So moving on to reason number 5 is that it has a wider aperture. So this lens is 2.8 to 4, whereas a regular kit lens is usually 4 to 5.6 or sometimes 3.5 to 5.6. And the difference is quite a bit. 2.8, the wider aperture means you can get a blurrier background, more light, better for low light situations. So it at 17 mil, it's at 2.8 right now. We are shooting at 2.8, so as you can see, we do have quite a bit of light coming in just from the lens itself, compared to the kit lens, which starts at f4. This one actually ends at f4 when it's at 70 mil all the way zoomed in, which is pretty great. And that's actually, if you think about it, might be one of the drawbacks. If you're looking for a constant aperture of 2.8, you're not going to get that, as the aperture is variable. It changes as you zoom in. It goes up to f4. F4 is actually not that bad compared to a kit lens. The kit lens actually goes all the way up to 5.6, so then you're just kind of losing your background blur. But the benefit is actually that you get that extra 20 mil of zoom. So there is another lens, 17 to 50 mil, that stays at a constant f2.8 aperture, so from Sigma, and it's actually cheaper than this lens. So if you are interested in having that constant aperture, even when you zoom in at f2.8, you zoom in a lot, but you need that constant aperture, I'd recommend that lens instead, because it is actually a couple dollars cheaper than this lens. But if you need that extra 20 mil zoom, I needed that extra 20 mil zoom, for the more versatility. So that's why I picked up on this one, and the aperture was not that important to me. So that's why I opted for the 17 to 70 millimeter. But if you are interested in getting that 50 mil, 17 to 50, I also suggest that. That's a very, very good lens as well. So that's pretty much it for the aperture talk. So now moving on to reason number 6 is the manual focus ring. So the problem on the kit lens in many the Nikon and the Canons, the problem with that is that the ring just keeps on tilting forever. And the problem with that is if you're trying to do some good manual focus work, then the ring just goes like forever, and then you might have twisted it all the way, and then you have to bring it all the way back. The great thing with this one is actually it doesn't go more than what your hand can handle actually. So the entire focus range is very compacted on it, and it even has some number tick marks to show the distance. So that helps with manual focus. So if manual focus, you do a lot of work with manual focus, then really I would recommend getting this lens. It's really great, especially with that focus ring. It's very short, and as I mentioned earlier, the grip is very strong on this one as well. So that's a great plus on that, with the manual ring being kind of smaller, and it allows you to be more precise with your focusing. So now we're going to move on to reason number 7. Actually, we've covered 6 reasons so far that are pretty solid reasons. This last one is just to wrap it up, basically all the little things. So the lens hood that comes in is much better than the kit lens, because that kit lens doesn't have even a lens hood. But having the lens hood is really great if you're in outdoor photography, and just having it as a backup is great, and it comes in handy for certain situations. And the last thing is actually, some people think, those amateurs, if you just go on the streets, some of them think that the bigger the lens you have, the better creator you are. Obviously that's not true, but you can still flex to them. This lens is actually quite a bit bigger than a regular kit lens, and especially when you add the lens hood on top, it gives you a good 2 to 3 inches. So the longer the lens, the better the photographer you are. Obviously not true, but still great to show off to people. So yeah. Alright, so anyway, that's been the 7 reasons. That last one, just a little bit extra, but that has been it for the video. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to smash that like button. It helps me out. And if you aren't already, be sure to subscribe. I have a lot of content covering tech products, as well as if you're specifically in the budget range, if you need tech products in the budget range, I'm covering some of that. And if you want to go in the comments down below, let me know any questions you have about this lens or any other future video ideas you have. Be sure to let me know in the comment section. But yeah, that's been it. This video is about to be done. I'm out in 3, 2, 1.